Bonjour, bonsoir, dear friends, and welcome to JCB Live. We're going to have an happy hour very far away today. We're going to go all the way to Hong Kong, to fabulous Asia, with a great friend, an amazing wine collector, a lover of the Asian culture, the man who really bridged European style with Asian phenomenal introspective soul and spirit. He's a phenomenal collector of art, one of the biggest collector of art on the planet. I feel fortunate to call him a friend. We've known each other for over 2 decades. He's a huge collector, of course, of the finest Burgundies on the planet. And dear friends, he owns a winery as well named Donum in the heart of California in that beautiful region named Carneros. He's built one of the best installation at Donum that art has ever seen, welcoming artists from all around the world. And he's built one of the biggest fashion company on the planet. He's going to tell us all about it. Went to Asia with nothing in his pocket and today owns 7,500 stores. I'm humble, honored. I feel very privileged, dear friends, to welcome the famous Allan Warburg himself. Yes, Allan. Allan, welcome on JCB Live.
Thank you so much, Jean-Charles. It's very good to see you, even though it is a morning in Hong Kong. It's almost 9 o'clock in the morning. It's a little early for drinks, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So, cheers to you, and please notice the glass, Jean-Charles.
Oh, thank you. What a touch. I
Yeah,
love it.
Jean-Charles designed these glasses. Cheers.
Thank you, Allan. Well, this is a great pleasure, honor, and I'm delighted that you can meet all our viewers because, dear friends, Allan has one of the most amazing story of a lifetime. So maybe, Allan, we start from the beginning. What has triggered your love for Asia?
Wow. When I was 12 years old, my parents took me to Thailand for a 1 month trip of Thailand, and I was fascinated by Asia. But a funny story: we went to Chinatown, and in a Chinese restaurant, we had Peking duck, and I thought that was the most amazing thing I ever tasted. And I really think I can put back my fascination for China and Chinese culture back to the Peking duck in Bangkok when I was 12 years old.
Hey, back to the food.
Hmm.
And dear friends, you would know as you get to know Allan, he's a true hedonist. He loves the culinary arts, food and wine together, and he's a great chef too. So you love it at 12, and then what happened because you basically decided from Denmark, where you were originally born, to move to Asia. So give us the process and how you converted that first love, which I could
What?
relate to because I had the first one with the US at the same age as you with
Hmm.
Asia.
Yeah. No, so I started studying a lot about China. I had a big map of China hanging in my room that I would look at every day. Um, Read a lot about Chinese history and culture, and loved to go to Chinese restaurants. So after I finished my MBA, I went to Taiwan to study first in 1988. Um, and later I went to a place called Kunming in China to study, and then Xiamen. And finally, I got a job offer from at that time very large Danish company called the East Asiatic Company, and I started working for them in Taiwan and Hong Kong and then Beijing. So I moved to Beijing, yeah, 30 years. Was that almost 30 years ago? Yeah. Hmm.
And that's amazing. So you spoke the language as well. You made the effort to
Yeah.
learn Mandarin very well.
That's been very very important for my development in China, that I was able to speak, especially back 30 years ago. There were not many Chinese who spoke English. It's changed a lot. It's a much more global place now, China, than it was 30 years ago.
And how, Alan? I mean, for me, it's a mystery how you build such an empire in such a short period of time. So, give us your time in Kenming. Isn't it one of the best capital for tea and one of the most high-end teas in China, fermented teas?
You mean where Kunming or where? You mean?
Yes,
Yeah, we
Kunming.
were studying. They have some very, very good tea in Kunming, close to Kunming. The very red teas are very, very good there. They also have, by the way, I love tea as well. My wife is also a great tea lover. We enjoy tea, Chinese tea very much. There are different places. Anhui province in the east is also a very good place for tea, and Fujian province, close to Xiamen, is very good for the oolong tea. So there are different regions with different teas in China. Yeah. Mhm.
So your next business got to have to be a tea business at some
You
stage.
know what? We're going to launch a Donum tea. That's what we are planning to do. Some very fine teas we are going to bring into to Donum so that our guests can have that experience as well if they want to.
Well, that's a fabulous idea. And we're going to go back to the wine because that's going to be a
Mm,
fabulous discussion tonight.
mhm.
But Alan, tell us about what you've built because, dear friends, Alan built the largest fashion company in China. 7,500 different stores across China in 20 years. 2 decades he built it. So give us a view, Alan. I'm so admirative of you going to a foreign nation. And 20 years ago, 30 years ago, China was very different than today.
Mm,
How did you do it? Give us some, as I'm celebrating your
mm,
success with the bubbles, give us
mhm.
a few. And I know you ask this question all the time by so many people and MBA school to journalist. You are the biggest success as a European in China, and
Okay.
I'm so proud of you. So give us some clues.
So I was working in this Danish company called the East Asiatic Company, which was a very old company, and we were one of the things we were distributing was M&Ms and Snickers, and I was responsible for North China for that. Um, but my childhood friend Dan and I, we always wanted to start our own business, and he was working with McKinsey and Company in Denmark, and he came out many times, and we decided we wanted to start up a business. That's actually 25 years ago. We started this year is our 25th anniversary. Um, so him being a McKinsey consultant, so we had to do it the smart way. So we did a whole um, McKinsey study on what industry would be the right one to start up in. So I wish I could say I at that time had a passion for fashion. I actually didn't. That came later once we started working with. But fashion just uh, seemed like a good choice for many reasons. One was demographics. You had so many
Yes.
young people coming into the market there. And then that's changing in China now. Demographics is exactly the opposite because now you have a lot less young people coming in. But 25 years ago, that was the case. Secondly,
Mm.
when people start to make more money, one of the first things they want to spend money on is clothes because as long as they have a decent place to live, then they want to look well, they want to look good towards their friends and to get a better jobs and to advance in life. So fashion is one of the first things to really take off. Um, and trust me, China was very very different in 1996 when we started off. Secondly, back then there were no big fashion companies worldwide. You had Gap in the US, you had H&M in Northern Europe, and you had Zara in Southern Europe, but you really did not have any large corporations in fashion. That meant that there was very very low entry barriers because um, we didn't have any real big competitors. Um,
Mm.
and lastly, financials. You know, if you do fashion right, you buy a shirt at $1 and you sell it at $5, right? That's a very large markup, and therefore, if you run your business well, um, you can be cash flow positive very quickly. And actually, our
Mm.
business we've had the initial investment. We had 25 years ago, and we've never had a bank loan. Everything else has been self-financed. So we've never had any
Really?
other capital involved. So that proved at that time in China you could do it if you managed your business well, and that's what we did. Yeah.
Well, what would you say what brought this success was to bring a certain European flair or European lifestyle? Is it what you primarily
Yeah.
promoted there?
I think it was, of course, being at the right place at the right time, for sure. Um, I think perhaps also a little bit luck. Um, we started in 1996. In 1997, there was a financial crisis around the world. China did
Hmm.
better, but it also meant that there were no competitors who really started coming into China before, you know, early 2000s. So we had some years where I would say, our competition was much more forgiving, and we could make a lot of mistakes and still get away with it because there was no real professional competitors. So I think that was really a matter of being at the right time, at the right place at the right time. Secondly, it was this whole idea of selling a European lifestyle in China, and that is much less relevant now. China is much more secure in their own lifestyle and in their own trends. But back then, it was really selling the European lifestyle. Mm.
Give us the name of the group and the different brands that you've created all across China. So, whoever and many friends listening are in China right now, so they could run to the store and they know the trademarks.
So our company is called Bestseller Fashion Group China. Um, our brand names is Jack and Jones, which is kind of young, trendy menswear. Um, we have Only, which is very quite young and trendy women's wear. Then we have Vera Moda, which is a bit more mature women's wear. And we have Selected, which is a bit more business casual and business wear for men. And then some years ago, we bought a Swedish brand called J. Lindeberg, which you might know from the golf. They have a great golf collection as well. So that one we own as well. Um, yeah, those are the ones.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
Wow, very impressive. So, great portfolio of different brands. Very exciting. And would you think that you have Europeanized, in a sense, or westernized China in terms of how our friends in China dress and behave with their textile?
I mean, I don't want to pretend to to be able to say that, but I do think we have had an influence on many things. I think we had an influence on style in the early days for sure, because we were some of the first ones to bring European fashion to China. I also think, in management terms, I think we were considered for many years, the school. If you wanted to go into start retail in China, you would try to steal our people. And so I think in
Mm,
that sense, I think we've had a certain impact over the years on how retail in China has been built up. Yeah. Mhm.
that's fascinating. You're the graduate school of retail. I'm sure
But
you are.
now it's such a much bigger. We still have a great business, but we are the China has just become so big that our share of the fashion market is, of course, much less than it was 15 years ago. Mm.
Hmm, phenomenal. So, where do you see fashion in terms of the Chinese market evolving into? Is there a style that would be specific, or where do you see the market moving in in
So,
in that
as I
sense?
said before, China is becoming much more self-confident, and whereas in the past we would go to Europe to look for fashion trends, and Japan and Korea, now we are really looking for trends in China as well. Not least because of the pandemic, it's difficult for us to travel, but also because there's happening so much on the Chinese fashion side now that it is no longer a matter of only bringing China fashion, foreign styles to China. Is really about understanding what's going on in China. That's
Hmm,
been a big change in attitude. Mhm.
for sure. Well, let's have a toast,
Okay.
Alan, with this JCB 21. And I'm waiting for you to describe it because I know you never lack of good terms for wine. So tell me what you think of the wine before we move to Donum Chardonnay, which
Okay.
is your fabulous production.
Hmm. No, JCB. I mean, I've always been a fan of your wines. I mean, the first
Thank
wines
you.
I tasted from you were Vaugiré. I mean, it must be probably 20 years ago. Um,
20.
and I visited Vaugiré so many times, and I love your place there. And luckily, I'm on your list for being allocated some of your better wines every year. I'm very grateful
Thank
for
you.
that. Yeah.
Thank you.
This JCB sparkling is fantastic. It's really really good. I've had it many times. It's great. Yeah.
Thank you. And you know what I love with you, Alan, is you never hesitate to open bottles.
Mm.
And dear friends, Alan is an enormous collector. He has warehouses of wine, and he's been collecting for 25 years ago. And he opens wine, right, Alan?
Mm.
Don't you think it's important to enjoy the wine, not just to have them sit in a beautiful wood case?
Oh yes. I, I I don't think I've ever sold a bottle of. Of course, I sold Donum, but of my personal, I don't think I've ever sold any of the wine I've collected. But I really do enjoy opening bottles and enjoying it and sharing it with friends. It's
Absolutely. Well, talking about Donum, I'm going to start serving, but I would like for you as well to describe to us, which you and I have so many things in common. You married a beautiful lady, May,
hmm
from China. So
hmm
you manage a bicultural marriage, similar to Gina and I, who is from
mm
California.
yeah.
So, how has it been? And what do we learn the most from having the fortune to be in a bicultural marriage as you are?
You know, I think it's very interesting. There's never a dull day, and now we've been married for almost 20 years. So we've started to really get to know each other. So everything's a lot smoother now. But I would say, even though I'd stayed so many years in China, there were a lot of cultural misunderstandings, especially in the beginning. My wife also spent 5 years studying in Sydney, in Australia. So, so I think we've both had to, reach out and compromise on the things that are different, because there are different ideas and different values that you just have to somehow work out over time.
Yes. Well, and you know, she's incredible and
Thank you.
a fabulous inspiration, and we got to spend so much quality time together. I'm so energized with her
hmm
and her journey as well as her spirituality.
hmm
Tell us about the key values that you feel your children have gotten from the both of you, because your kids are
hmm
brilliant
Oh, thank
and
you. Same,
you really,
same.
well,
Yeah.
you're very kind. You've really succeeded to give them
Mhm.
the true sense of understanding of both. So, give us some of the key values that you think are really anchored in them as people of the world.
I think I think being humble, and being open-minded towards other cultures, because obviously they are half Chinese, half Danish. I think they because of this they're probably much more open-minded and willing to accept other cultures and other ideas and proposals. Um, I think we've also instilled in them honesty as the most important basic that cannot be questioned. Honesty and integrity can never be challenged.
Mm,
I think those are some of the key. Of course, hard work and whatever, but that comes with living in China.
yes,
hmm
that's amazing. Well, congratulations. I think dear friends, as you're going to meet Alan and his beautiful wife more and kids, as you're going to see him a lot more at Donum, as we're going to discuss wine now, it's very, very inspirational to be able to succeed to do this and really take the best of both worlds. Um, Maybe a final statement on China. What is to you, as you're married with a beautiful Chinese lady, the most inspirational thing that we should take from China? As I'm a big lover of Chinese history, spirituality, and way of living.
It's a very deep question.
Yes. Well, let's go deep. I know you know how to do that.
I think in China the pursuit of harmony I think it's something we can all harmony and balance. It's some of the essence of Chinese culture, and I feel that that's really something we can all learn from as Westerners.
Yeah, harmony. Very well said, which you've done at Donum. So let's talk about wine even deeper. So not only you thought it would be good to collect wine, but you bought hundreds and hundreds of very high quality acres in the famous region of Carneros, which is, for all of you dear friends, Sonoma and Napa, really at the fork of both in the wine country of California. So, Allan, why getting in the wine world?
It it happened by little bit by accident. So my brother Carsten, whom you have met many times as well, he traveled to Sonoma and Napa many times, and he also met you on all of those occasions. And one of the wines
Of course.
he brought back was Donum, and he started importing it to Denmark to just friends and family, importing Donum, and then after the financial crisis, the owner at that time, which was a German company, wanted to sell Donham, and it seemed like a very good price at that time. So I thought, together with a few other friends at that time, we thought, okay, why don't we buy Donham and keep it for 5 or 6 years, maintain the great wine, and then sell it at a good profit. And that seemed like a great idea. Except I then visited Donham later on, and I think the first time my wife and I visited Donham, we realized this place is not for sale. So we
Good.
had to buy out the other investors and keep it for ourselves, and because we are never going to sell Donham again. We think it's such a beautiful place, and the wines we find great, and it's become probably the most important, apart from our kids, the most important passion in our life. Mhm.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, give us the definition of what donum means, because it's a very powerful, deep, historical meaning that's been used throughout the centuries, as we know. And
Yeah.
I just served the Chardonnay, as you could see.
Yeah.
I'm very, very excited,
Okay, I'm
you
sitting with
know,
the same one.
and
So,
I'm very honored.
mhm,
And I know you paid a lot of attention to that, Alan.
mhm.
This is my year, the year of the rooster in the
That's
Chinese
right. Exactly.
astrology. Same with you?
I'm a year of the ram. So
Oh,
yeah, year of the
very
ram. So
nice.
I'm what, 2 years or 3 years older. Yeah, yeah. So mhm.
3 years wiser than I am.
Good. So donum is Latin. Donum is Latin, and it means gift. And in our case, it means gift from the land. It's all about what we can get out of the land. And I think we should take that a little bit further and also say how we can preserve the land, right? I know, Jean Charles, you're a pioneer within sustainable farming and
Thank you.
biodynamic farming, and yes, so I think we are learning a lot from that as well. We are on that same road as you. We are just um, quite some years behind you, but we are going that way as well, and we have a whole plan for how we are doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the key, Alan, as you know, is to be on the way and to make the decision to want to go there. And as
Mm.
you know more than anyone, when you have the discipline to get there, you will,
Yeah.
and with great success. And I could tell you this wine is amazing. Maybe you want to describe it, because I feel bad for all our friends with us.
Yeah.
They're not having the pleasure to put their lips into this wine, but I know all of you can obviously get the wine on the Donum website. We have Donum as well at the Oakville Grocery and the Oakville Wine Merchant, and
You
we'll
do.
make it, yes,
Thank you.
permanently
Thank you for that.
available. It's our honor and pleasure, and that's what friendship is about. It's a given that will be there. So maybe, Alan, give us your thoughts of this wine and what
Yeah.
you've been looking into doing, because, dear friends, you will realize Alan is not only just in fashion. He's been collecting wine for 30 years, since he's been 20, and has an amazing cellar, knows everything about wine, which makes it exciting to see him owning a winery as well.
Oh, that's. You'll excuse me. It's a little bit early for me in the morning here. It's 9:20 a.m. So I won't go too deep.
But I've seen you many times at 9:20 having your fifth glass, so don't try to find an excuse for
but but not in front of the camera. I personally think the only place in the world where you can get close to the quality of Chardonnay outside of well, you can close to the quality of Chardonnay in Burgundy and Chablis is is in Sonoma, maybe also Napa, right? Especially Canaris Napa. Um,
yes.
and I think you will find this is somewhat of a Burgundy style of. I would put a little bit more Burgundy style of Chardonnay than it is a traditional Californian Chardonnay because it's a little bit cooler climate. This one here, it's I find it has this pale golden color, and I smell kiwi, I smell lime, I smell anise. I think it is 17, as you will also discuss on the Pinot Noir, was, however, a very very warm year. It's a very warm harvest, so you probably this is a bit more. There's a bit more power in it that we would normally have in our Chardonnays. 17 was very very warm. I think you would find the same in your wines, right? Yeah.
Spectacular. What would you pair it with? Talking about Chinese food, would you dare the Peking duck, or you would do that with the Pinot that we're going to try in a
Yeah,
moment?
Peking dog I would do with Pinot, but this one could go with many of the little bit more spicy,
Yes,
a little bit more spicy Chinese food. It would just fit perfectly. Yeah, the acidity
yes,
in
and
there would just, yeah, good.
I'm in love with it. So, besides the phenomenal sustainable practice you're putting in place at Donum, explain our guests who are with us tonight the amazing journey of art. Dear friends, Allan, as I said, is one of the leading art collector on the planet, not just in the US, not just in Asia, on the planet. And when you come to Donum, you have an exhibition like you've never seen before under the stars, which is
Mhm.
amazing. So, Allan, give us your vision and how you mapped out this amazing property because it doesn't exist in the world of wineries.
So art became a passion in the late 90s, early 2000s in Beijing. There was this explosion of creativity after having had an art environment that had been, very very controlled by the Communist Party, and artists were not allowed to create basically. They were suddenly set free, and that created an enormous explosion of creativity. I hear that the same happened in Berlin when the wall fell. So in the early 90s, Berlin was just an explosion of creativity because suddenly you could actually do what you wanted to do, right? And if you have not been allowed to do it before and you suddenly can do it, you realize it. So there was this incredible explosion of creativity in Beijing. And Beijing was also still is the art capital of China. So everybody who was creative would move to Beijing, and you would have all these galleries and you would have all these artist studios where you could just always go and knock on the door, and people would be so happy to talk to you and discuss their art and whatever. It was just a wonderful time. Now it's different. If you want to go visit an artist, you have to make a booking through I don't know how many different people,
Yeah.
but back then you could just knock on the door and come in and have a beer if it was in the afternoon, or a cup of tea if it was lunchtime or whatever. It was very informal, and we starting with me, and then later my wife got completely sucked into it. into that thing. So we started collecting there. Um, I would say some. I would say it has been a journey in understanding what is quality and what is not. So I won't say that that the things that we started out buying are the things that I enjoy the most today. I think we've come along the way. A little bit like when you start in the wine, you start tasting
Yes.
wines you thought were fantastic 20 years ago. If you taste them now, you say, it's undrinkable. So it's it's a journey. Yeah. So anyway, we started there. We collected quite a lot of Chinese art, mostly paintings, few sculptures, but mostly paintings because they're easier to hang and look at. but
Yeah.
but then we bought Donum, and we somehow wanted to, you know, uh, art to be part of it. But you cannot hang oil paintings out in the out in the vineyard. So sculpture, of course, was basically the only option. Um,
Yeah.
and we knew some interesting Chinese artists, and we started out with some Chinese artists that made some sculptures for us, and later on we just wanted to be a very global collection. So we've been building up a collection of basically from everywhere in the world since then. Hmm.
Well, give us some, and this is amazing because, dear friends, this is to the level of the Louis Vuitton collection in Paris, to the level of the biggest collection outdoor in the world of a museum collection, which is what you're doing. So, give us a sense of the name of the artist, and so everyone can have a feel because
Mm.
everybody needs to come and see it.
Yeah. So it's been a mixture of buying art and also working with the artists for commissions. And the one that we really enjoy the most is to commission a piece from an artist and really be part of the whole process of yeah, because we're not creative, but we can really respect the artists who are, and it's fantastic to be part of that whole process. But obviously, there's a lot of great art there already, which would fit Donham. So we've been also buying art. For instance, one of my absolute favorite artists, Louise Bourgeois, French,
Yes,
but like you,
I was going to
French,
say that
but lived most of her life in New York. So
the spider is incredible. L'araignée.
hmm. That's probably the one. But I've never been able to meet her, of course, because she already passed away. So had she lived, I would have gone to her and begged her if she could please create something specifically for Donham. But unfortunately, that's not possible. Um, we have Ai Weiwei. We also know Ai Weiwei well. We have his zodiac heads standing around.
I'm a huge fan, and if you
Mhm.
accept one day, we'll do another happy hour together in the middle of it. This is one of my favorite places to go
Mhm.
on your estate. I feel, you know, wholeness, the
Yeah,
spirituality of each of the signs, the energy.
exactly.
I
I
think
also
your
feel there's an
frequency
energy
level
there. Yeah, yeah,
very high level.
yeah. So Doc Atkins, an LA-based artist who I have a lot of respect for. I originally wanted to buy another piece of art from him, but then he said, "Let me visit Donham," and he spent 6 hours on Donham, and then he came back with another proposal, a very big wind chime, huge one, and I thought that was an excellent idea. So I commissioned that, and I was part of the whole process of getting it done and so on. Um, we have the very big heart. You've seen a very large heart, which is made by a British artist called Richard Hodgson, whom I've also known for many years. And that idea was conceived in Beijing after a couple of bottles of red wine. And then we
Well,
went
and
over
he's
and found the right place. Mhm.
and I met him when you did your fabulous
That's
opening,
right. Yes.
and we connected. And I went to see him in his house and studio in London, and
Yeah.
we had an amazing time. I mean, he told me about how you created it
Right. Hmm.
over a few bottles of wine, and that helps. But the heart is very giving.
That helps exactly. Yeah, and it's a kind of an iconic piece that you have to. you cannot not see it when you come to Donum. We have the big Juan Plensa as well, the peaceful lady, the girl that when you drive into the, it's a 12-meter tall sculpture, which kind of set the pace for when you comes into Donum. It's this very, very peaceful, magical, um, magical sculpture that kind of bids you welcome into Donum. Yeah.
That's
So we
right.
have about 50 works of art on Donum now. So anybody, please do come and have a look. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's very important. And Alan, you created this amazing
Please, I
book,
gave you this book. Yeah, so please do open the
the
book.
kindness, gorgeous presentation. So, dear friends, I'm going to open it in front of you. This is a magical book that you could get as a memory in tastings, because you could taste, right, Alan? We can walk around with a glass of wine, of course, throughout the whole estate, and you could reflect on each of the piece and get a refill, of course, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, dear friends, here we go. I'm the most impatient one. I want to show you this amazing book. Look, Donum, and from here, this is a masterpiece. So, give us your idea, Alan, behind this incredible creation and the book.
Well, we just thought that Donham, and especially the art and the artist on Donham, deserved a proper book. So this is in every way about the art and the artist on Donham. I one day we will make a similar book about the wine, but this one is most about the art on Donham. Yeah. So maybe I should say a little
Spectacular.
bit about what it is we're trying to create. Um, we just think that the combination of a beautiful landscape and great wine and great art is just something you cannot beat. Um, if you go to a museum, you look at a painting and it's just inside a room, and there are other people who are running around and their kids screaming and whatever. It's you can get a relationship with the art, but we feel that if you take art and put it into a beautiful setting, you increase the appreciation. And at the same time, if you do it after a couple of glasses of wine and while enjoying the wine, those three put together just become such a greater experience than if you're enjoying any of them by itself. So we just think the experience of enjoying wine while looking at a beautiful landscape and beautiful art is just unparalleled.
Unparalleled. And you've merged, which I love,
Mm,
of course, and you've done it in such a talented way, the landscape, the environment, the nature, the vineyards, and obviously, as we could see here, this unbeautiful lavender into the colors.
yeah,
Look,
that's my
the
my wife's
feel.
that's my wife's project. She loves lavender, so she planted 3,800 lavenders. So yeah.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
But this is great. Alan, congratulations. So tell us about, and that's the heart, dear friends, that we've discussed from Hudson.
Mhm.
Unbelievable piece that, thrown. And the incredible, this is one of my favorite, of course, the Zodiac.
Yeah.
And this is where, Alan, when you come back to California, if we can, together, just sit in the middle and go through the phases of Mother Nature would be a lot of fun.
Mhm.
So, Alan, tell us about, the meaning of art to you and the integration of art in your life, and how does it play such a centerfold role?
Mhm. Yeah. Could I just one thing before that? Actually, I just saw the zodiacs. I just wanted to talk about the label that we have. So
Yes.
if you notice, we have the zodiac signs here, and that so one evening my wife and I was in Beijing drinking some nice wine, and we were talking about, in the wine world you always talk about vintage, what vintage is wine. In Asia you always ask people, what zodiac sign are you? So it's always about zodiac sign, talking about when you're from, right, when you were born. um, and we thought, why can we not combine that somehow? East meets West, so that on our wine bottle we would have, for instance, 2017 year of the rooster, thereby combining East and West. And at the same time, we thought about how could we like simplify that? How could we show that on the label? And we thought about Ai Weiwei and his zodiac heads. And through a very close friend of mine, who's also a very close friend of Ai Weiwei, I called him up that night and said, "Listen, do you think I can buy some of the? Do you think I can buy a set of Ai Weiwei's zodiac heads?" And he said, "I'll give it a try." He gave Ai Weiwei a call, and then we negotiated a little price. And within 24 hours after having the idea, we had actually bought those those zodiac heads, the 12 zodiac heads. So that took 24 hours, and the deal was done.
I
so
love it.
so that was
So two
something very
hours to
special.
show that.
And then afterwards, we asked Ai Weiwei if he could design the label. So the label is actually redesigned by Ai Weiwei.
Wow, this is amazing.
Mhm.
So for both the Pinot, dear friends, that we're going to be trying now, as well as the Chardonnay, this is spectacular. And I'm emotional about it because I'm the year of the rooster, as you know. So
Yes, very good.
it, it,
Good. No, I just think art has become something very important for us. I it's something that brings you a lot of peace and pleasure when you look at it. It's also been a way of meeting a lot of very interesting artists, and some great artists have become very close friends actually. Um,
yes,
and we really enjoy meeting them and spending time with them. And there's just something about creative people which
for
makes it
sure.
so interesting to be together with. Yeah. So for us, it's also been access to meet some very very interesting people. Mhm.
For sure. For sure. And what is next for you in the art world? How do you see this evolution and this integration with what
Mhm.
you do?
Well, I see us continuing developing Donum, hopefully much more with the bit larger commissions where we work closely with artists over a couple of years creating them, because I find it so interesting to work together with artists.
Hmm.
And sometimes you just get blown away by their creativity. We are working together with an artist at the moment. I'm not allowed to say his name, but it's going to be something very spectacular that we are doing together on Donum. And that will start construction later this year. And by that time, I hope I'll be allowed to announce it.
That's exciting.
Mhm.
Well, you have so much. You said 50 so far to talk about. So
Mm.
that's very exciting. And and where do you see the integration of art and wine? And if not overlapping, because wine being a form of art and vice versa.
Absolutely. But for me, it's just, I really think, and maybe people will laugh at me now, but I really think art becomes even stronger and more meaningful after a couple of glasses of good wine. I mean, it's just it's just a fact. And,
Well, talking about good wine,
mhm.
um, and I'm thrilled, by the way, that you are becoming such an expert at winemaking Chardonnay and Pinot, because I've always known you,
Mhm.
Alan, as a big Burgundy lover. And for me to witness your fabulous interest into making Pinot and Chardonnay, and I know you love all wines,
Mm.
but it feels, is it true in your heart, Chardonnay and Pinot is really what makes you vibrate?
Absolutely, absolutely. I do love so many different kinds of wine, and but I think I always go back to Pinot for red and Chardonnay for white. Even though I grew up, my father is still alive. He's 88 years old, but uh, he doesn't taste much wine anymore. He can only drink Australian Shiraz and Argentinian Malbec because he thinks all other wines doesn't taste of anything. So, but in his younger days, when I was a kid, he was Bordeaux. And we visited Bordeaux many times when I was a kid. I still remember visiting Chateau Margaux when I was 6 years old, and every time I drive by Chateau Margaux, I think, oh yes, I've been there. So so I grew up with that palate, but it was later in life that I discovered Burgundy, and I think there's a saying, right? And you correct me if I'm wrong. Bordeaux is power, Burgundy is love, right?
Hmm.
Um, it, and I think that's kind of right. I think Pinot Noir, there's a bit more. And my Bordeaux friends are going to be very angry, but there's a bit more love in Pinot Noir, a bit more, yeah, a bit more love. I think that's the right word. Hmm.
Absolutely. So tell us about this Pinot because first of all, I want to tell you the Chardonnay. I've always been amazed by the great wine at Donum, and they really are so coat de bone. When you talked about stemming from a little bit of the old world, I'm very impressed with the Chardonnay at all level, from the acidity, the minerality, the
Mm.
length, the vibration, the elegance, the power. I mean, you've combined in the Chardonnay really everything that we could think of the other side of the planet. Now, tell us about the
Yeah,
Pinot
I
and
should also just make it absolutely sure I'm not making the wines. I have no idea how to make wines. Our team, led by Dan Fishman, who has been doing the wines for, yeah, for ages, over I think 10 or 12 years. He's been making the wines on Donham. So it's all credit goes to him and his team. I have the only thing I always tell him is there must be no compromise on quality. The If you can
what
only
does
make
that
300
mean?
cases, you can only make 300 cases of that wine, and then we must sell the others as bulk or something else. But we cannot compromise on quality. That's the only thing I always tell him.
Well, and it's very important for everybody to know, what does that mean to you in terms of wine? Because it could be a very subjective term.
Mm.
You know, where do you put the level, and what's the area of judgment of what is quality, what is not? I know I'm
That's a
asking
good question.
a
I
deep
mean,
question.
I think it comes between me, my wife, Dan Fishman, Angelica, our CEO, and Don Champierre, our chairman. Um, it all comes down to where we kind of put it, where it should be, right? We also have a great addition in Phil Fries. If you know Phil, he's on
Of
our board as
course.
well. Uh, so I think we are working hard with trying to figure out what is that level of quality. But for us, we just want to reach the highest. Absolutely.
Well, and you have. So maybe give us a few ideas
Yeah.
of this wine, and then I'd love for you to tell us a little more about your other investment in the world of wine, which will be very interesting for many people to hear about.
Oh, okay.
Because this is very charismatic, I could tell you.
Yeah.
I'm God, the year of the rooster.
So it is because you have the rooster. We got this one. Now, um, this is a Russian river, and it's 2017, and I would say it's one of the more powerful ones that we've ever released. I think there were normally you would find our our Pinot Noirs to be a little bit less powerful than this. This is a little bit of an explosion. I served it for my wife last night. She said, "Is this Donham?" And when I said that she could, because it is a bit more powerful than our average Pinot Noirs. But I think I like it very much. It's it is again. It was 2017, very warm year, especially in Russian River. Um, it's I find tobacco, espresso, coca and espresso coffee, and I find a lot of it's very rich and very deep, a bit more rich
Yeah.
than we usually would produce.
I love that depth though. Really impressive. Which makes that intricacy of the Russian River so much more
Mm.
present. Hey, Alan, who is the fabulous artist behind you? I love that painting.
He's an artist that I've known for many years. When he was even before he became a superstar, his name is Song Fan, and he is
Ah,
based in Beijing. He does many different kinds. This he had 100 paintings he made with a mask, and then he's done a lot of other painting. He also painted me many years ago. I was um, I was sitting at a dinner with him, and we were again drinking some good red wine. It was Bordeaux, um, and he said, "Alan, you're
we'll
so
forgive
fat."
you.
So in China, it's okay to say this. "Alan, you're so fat." I said, "What?" And he said, "I would like to paint you." And then he did, and of course he charged me a lot of money for it. But but yeah. So
Hey, you're gonna have to show me this one. I've never seen that portrait of yours.
it's hanging in our house in Denmark. Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm. So we can meet up there one day when we can travel again.
absolutely.
Yeah.
In the beautiful country of Denmark.
Yeah.
So, Alan, besides the winery, you've done as well a few other investments in wine besides in Denmark. I I think with our good friend Don Saint Pierre,
Exactly.
you've done a great investment in the U.S. I think our friends should know and maybe position some wine in your cellars there. Tell
Hmm.
us about it.
So Don and I go way back. We started our own company in China the same year, 1996, 25 years ago. Don Saint Pierre and his father became very quickly the biggest, the largest importer of wine into China, at least of quality wine into China. Um, and we got to know each other because obviously, if in those days, if you were interested in wine, you had to know ASC fine wine, as it was called. And they sold it some years ago to the Japanese Suntory Group. And Don moved to the US, and I came over and visited a couple of times. And one day he said, "You know what? This Vinfolio, I think there's a lot of potential in it. And it is storage, but also a platform for buying and selling fine wines. And so we took it over, took majority control out of some years ago, and it's been doing very very well. And I especially during this pandemic where people have been home, they've been buying a lot more online, and it's been a very good investment. Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. And dear friends, you could buy your wine at Vinfolio, have them stored, monitored, classified, organized, and they appreciate, and you could even resell it to the marketplace if you want to.
Yeah.
So quite an amazing concept. Congratulations for that one.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Well, the congratulations doesn't go to me; it goes to Don and his team for sure. Yeah. Hmm.
So, Alan, what is next? I mean, success in fashion, success in art, success in wine, books. What are you? What's happening in Allan Warburg's head? Because I want to go there one day.
Wow. Fashion is one of the fastest moving and fastest changing businesses in the world. um, and China is one of the fastest changes places in the world. So there's no way for me to get out of my day job, which is
Yeah.
fashion in China. There's so many things happening in China at the moment. A shift from retail into from traditional retail channels into a lot of new channels. Live streaming on this TikTok, for instance, and all of these new sales channels that are completely new and that we have to understand and engage with. So there's a lot of work to do. Yeah, I like the wine business in that sense. You plant a wine, and then you know that 6 7 years later you can start you can start using the grapes, and then you can use them for the next many years. Um, it's a much more stable business in that way. The fashion business needs a lot of attention. Mhm.
Hmm.
So yes, I will be here for the foreseeable future, and I will be involved in my main business. Mhm.
That's great. And you still, we put a little Vougeray together. You still
Absolutely.
enjoy Burgundy, I hope, in spite of having Donum.
You know what?
Ooh, Ooh, thank you.
Yes,
That's a great surprise. You have that in your cellar?
I do. I have a lot of Vacheray in my cellars, both in the shipments I get from you directly from Vacheray directly to Denmark. I keep in Denmark. And
Oh, thank
I'm so
you. Well,
grateful
that's
I'm
a
on the list for your more um, your more precious wines, which are very very difficult to get a hold of. So it's always great every year we receive them. Um, and
it's a great. Well, and you have the Clos de Torre, the Monopole. That's
mhm,
one of our latest edition.
yeah,
And
yes,
Monopole, dear friends, is mean
mhm,
we're the only one to own the vineyard. Thank you for sure. I'm
yes,
so glad you had this 2013. How is it tasting?
it's fantastic. It's really really nice. It's very very balanced. It's yeah, lighter than the a lot lighter than the Russian River here, but it has a sophistication and fineness and balance that is just very very nice. Really enjoyed it. I opened it last night and tasted it last night, and
Oh,
it was
thank
beautiful.
you.
Mhm.
And what would you pair the Nuit Saint Georges Premier Cru with? Chinese food,
Wow, with
favorite for you?
Chinese food, it would have to be something a bit lighter, perhaps more Shanghai dishes where you don't have as strong spices. I would probably go
Yes.
with Shanghai food, which is a little bit more. Um, yeah,
Ah,
they don't have as strong spices. I wouldn't put it together with Sichuan food, which I think would drown the characteristics. Yeah, yeah. But a
interesting.
beautiful, beautiful. And I always, if to all of you, if you ever go to Burgundy, you have to ask Jean Charles if you can visit Vaugirard, and especially ask if he can invite you for lunch there because they serve very, very nice lunch there.
Thank you. Well, and I love our dinners in the old cellars. We
Right.
we well overdue. It has been too long. So
Yes.
I hope May and of course the children can come and your brother and your parents and the
Mm,
whole family.
that would be fantastic. It would be.
We're gonna make it work
Mm,
this year. Would be a great honor.
mhm.
Now, Alan, love your what really inspires you, gets you going? Because you have so many great interests.
Mm.
Is there one um, specific element in your world that inspires you and makes you who you are?
Well, I just love traveling, and that's why this last year has been very difficult for me. I've been traveling in mainland China, even though you have if you go from Hong Kong to mainland China, you have to do 2 weeks of quarantine, hotel quarantine there. But I've done that so that I've been able to travel quite a bit in China. But traveling is just it's
Yes.
passion for me. I need to, and
Well, it was good to see you in the middle of Rajasthan
it
together by
was
pure surprise.
unbelievable. So last yeah, New Year's Day, the 1st of January 2020, we were staying at a wonderful hotel in Jodhpur in Rajasthan, and my sons and I went down to the lobby, and who do we see? Jean Charles and his wonderful family. That was an incredible experience. What a what a treat to see you in the middle of India, and
Thank
also
you.
with your friend and partner, whom you've created. And you know what I found in the cellar? I found this one.
Oh, thank you. So thoughtful.
So this is Jean
Indeed.
Charles wine from India, which is by far the best Indian wine, and I really mean it because there's not much good wine in India, but this one is actually a great wine.
Oh, thank you, Alan.
Yeah.
You give me shivers. I mean, dear friends, that evening we had a dinner that Alan so kindly catered for all of us in the master dining room of the Maharaja.
Hmm.
And we were turban. You remember, it
Yes.
was one of the most spectacular nights
Right.
ever lived for
Hmm.
me since the beginning of my life.
Hmm.
And you treated us to such an amazing night.
Yeah.
What a memory, right?
What a memory. Yes. Unfortunately, your partner passed away. I was so sad to hear that.
Ah,
But
tragic.
tragic. Yeah. Hmm.
But he's with us, and the fact that you just
Hmm.
showed the bottle is so moving, and
Right.
I really want to thank you for that because you were very appreciative. We had a lot of great wines that night,
Hmm.
among
Yeah.
this wine, and that was very special.
If you ask me
Now,
what really keeps me going, it's going back to see your wine property in India. I really want to go and see that.
well, let's go together.
That would be incredible. Yeah. Hmm.
Absolutely. I bought a temple a few days after seeing you. You
Right.
remember I was just coming back from the
Yes.
antique
Yeah.
market,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and we're going to name it Kapil,
Of
and it's going
course.
to be installed, yeah, in honor of Kapil.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hmm.
It's going to be installed here on Wapo Hill in Napa Valley, where you know
Yes.
very well.
Yeah.
And next time you come, we'll have a prayer for him.
Very good. That's a deal. Yeah. Looking
Yeah,
forward to that. Yeah.
absolutely. So maybe, if you don't mind, Alan, one or two more questions. One more. What is, among all the things you've done now, what is your next big dream you wish to accomplish or to see happening?
Um, I of course I wanted my company in China to continue to prosper, not just because of me, but also because we have 60,000 wonderful employees that rely on us.
60,000.
So we so that is of course that needs to keep going. Um, I think Donham, we will never become a very, very big producer because that's not who we want to be, and that's not who we're capable of being. So we will grow. We've bought some more land out in Bodega Bay, which we have planted last year. So that will
Great.
also. So we planted about we bought 100 acres and planted about 20 acres. So that in one,
Congratulations.
in some years' time we will have a little bit more size, a bigger size than we have today. But we will continue only if the grapes are not good enough. We are not going to put them into Donham. If they're good, they're going to go in there. So we will grow Donham, but we are never going to become a big wine company. We'll grow the experience. For us, it's all about coming to Donham. It's about creating experiences for people. I think people really need to have some experiences. Otherwise, they can stay at home and look at the internet. They want to come out and experience something they cannot do at home. So for us, it's about creating that combination
Yeah.
of wine, nature, art, and creating some great experiences from people. And you know what? Whenever I'm on Donham and I see people when they arrive and I see people when they leave, they're just so much more happy. They might be happy when they arrive, but
Yes.
when they leave, they're really, really happy. And I think then you
You're
know
very
that
inspired.
you created something, right? You made people happy, and that's. I like to make people happy. Yeah.
That's great.
But I hope
What a
to be
great
able to
team.
travel a lot more, and my kids will go off to college and whatever. So hopefully, I will have more time to travel then. Yeah.
That's amazing. And maybe, Alan, as I'm holding the last two phenomenal glasses, I have not opened the Vougeray because you have, but I have the two Donum. You
Hmm.
know, what would be, to all our friends listening, and you've done that with any magazine around the world and every TV station, but for us, maybe a message you want to send to everyone listening on whichever topic, whichever message you wish as a message for 2021.
Well, of course, yes, getting over the pandemic would be incredible, right? And I think in the US you're finally on the right way and much faster than most other places,
Hmm.
and that would be my greatest hope for that. I hope now that I sit here in Hong Kong, China, and you sit in California, I somehow hope that both governments will be able to kind of smoothen the friction between the U.S. and China. I think both sides should really start to be more realistic about what is needed and what is required, and then I think we should all get together and try to live in peace and harmony.
I love it.
Yeah.
I fully agree. And, you and I share, of course, on so many topics, the same point of view. I'm going to echo what you just said.
Okay.
It's all about harmony,
Mhm.
right?
It is.
It's all about, celebrating life together as one world. And I think
Mm.
it's so well said.
Yeah.
Alan, I want to thank you immensely for the fabulous book, and even more importantly, the content of it and what it
Mhm.
represents for California and wine. because
Great.
no one has done what you've done in the world of wine and bringing art to this dimension. Your
Hmm.
great wines, your great friendship, that means a lot more than anything to me and to
Mm.
many of us. Your beautiful wife, your children. And what you've done in China, dear friends, is unparalleled. You heard it, over 60,000 employees, luckily thriving thanks to Allan and his partner's vision. So, Allan, thank you for accepting to be on our live
Mm.
and
Great.
to share who
Thank
you
you very
are
much
and
for
what you do.
yeah. Thank you very much for having me, and do say hi to Gina and your two wonderful daughters. Yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. And dear friends, come and see Donum Estate in the heart of Carneros, Sonoma, and Napa. On your way to any of our wineries, you must stop to Donum.
Great.
And Allan, I cannot wait for you to come back to Wapo Hill or Burgundy. So
No,
let's see each other soon.
absolutely. All for it. Cheers. Thank you very much, Jean Charles. It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.